where are you located in terms of the physical proximity within the city to other key atmospheres and events that you're going to be engaged with. What is going on, Metaverse? So you've discovered Noor and recognized that something very different is going on with this project, but you have no idea what it's all about. Have no fear. I'm here to give you an overview into the economic side of Noor. Now, firstly, if you don't really understand what the project is at all, I recommend you go back to my first video titled Putting the Sports Back in eSports. This is an overview of the basic concepts of Noor and what they're trying to accomplish. I recommend watching that first and then coming back here to get a much more detailed overview of the economic side of the gameplay around the project. That said, if you already have a general understanding and you want to do a deep dive into what's going on with the economy as a whole, you're in the right place. So let's see what Annie knows about understanding the economic metagame of Noor. To start with, remember that Noor separates the economic side of the gameplay with the competitive gameplay, or what we'll call the infra game. Playing on the economic side of Noor is very different than any other Web3 game that's out there today. In order to understand this, we're going to begin with 3 W questions that we ask ourselves. Firstly, who are you within the economic world of Noor? Secondly, where are you located in terms of the physical proximity within the city to other key atmospheres and events that you're going to be engaged with? And thirdly, when are you within the world of Noor? The concept of time and cycles and seasons is very critical to gameplay, and so you need to understand how that fits together. Where are you located? To start with, let's imagine an enormous city sprawling around a great central arena. The lifeblood of the city runs through and towards what's known as the Arena Perilous. This is the centralized stadium that's used for all of the gameplay within Noor. All economic activities in the city are also connected to this one centralized stadium. However, in centralized rings as you move across the city, there are additionally located secondary stadiums that are going to focus on individual gameplay with a specific title. So, remembering that Noor is first and foremost a platform, not a single game, there will be multiple titles of games that players are engaged in at any given time. So imagine a secondary stadium set up for a first-person shooter, another one for a MOBA, another for an auto battler, another for a racing game. And all of these secondary stadiums, they're scattered throughout the city. The closer you are in proximity to one of those stadiums, the more strongly you'll be able to influence the economic activities around that individual game. As you move through the city, your location matters a great deal into how you're engaging with the various tournaments, players, and sponsors of each one of these titles. Tickets are constantly being sold for viewers to watch the esports competitions that are going on. The sponsorship of individual teams and gamers to be able to play in major tournaments is going to be handled through the aspect holders, the citizens of Noor. Additionally, the focus on bringing in new players, on selling and trading lands, all of these economic aspects are things that you as the player can engage in within the metagame of Noor. And it matters greatly where you're located. So, within this city, imagine then individualized land plots that are created and sold to players. Each of these plots of land is going to have unique capabilities and characteristics. For the moment, we don't have full details on what those are, so for now, let's just assume that each player has a fairly standardized plot of land. On that land, you'll be able to put key individual elements that allow you to influence the economy of Noor. So for now, let's assume that you have a standard version that's available. As that land plot, don't think of it so much as a fixed spot within the city. Instead, think of it more like a mobile storage for all of your stuff that you're developing over time. Because this mobile storage is going to be moved around, as you'll see as we go through the land purchasing process. So, for starters, think of it as a plot of land that you are able to put on statues, decorations, buildings that give you different bonuses and the ability to influence things like ticket sales and marketing and team selection and sponsorship and merchandise sales and so on. All of those aspects that would go into a traditional sports game support and the economy around it are going to exist within the world of Noor as well. And your land plot is at the center of how you're going to be engaging with this gameplay. Some of the major utility and others are going to be cosmetic in nature probably, but a lot of it will have major impacts on how you can influence the world around you. So let's talk about where your home is going to be and how you get there. As mentioned, the city of Nor spirals out from around the Arena Perilous, the main arena for the end-of-season tournaments. Additionally, at the start of each season, locations will be announced for each of multiple secondary stadiums that will be used for the gameplay within that season. So let's say, for instance, in the very first season of Nor, there are 3 game titles that are going to be included on the platform. One is a first-person shooter, the second is a MOBA, and the third is an auto-battler style of game. Each aspect holder and land holder will be able to place their land in a specific spot in a draft type of status. So, what that means is the most powerful aspects that have the ability to influence land mechanics are going to get the first choice of selection. So let's say that you're interested in that first season in selling tickets to the first-person shooter game. Additionally, you anticipate wanting to sponsor a team for the MOBA. You would want to set up somewhere between those 2 games. Let's say, for instance, that you were more focused on the first-person shooter. When it came your time to choose through the draft mechanics, you would try and get as close as you could to the FPS arena, while also being as close secondarily as you could to the MOBA. This ensures that you'll have the most influence and also benefit the most in terms of rewards from those 2 stadiums. Now, the way that the draft will work, each landholder and aspect holder is going to be given a chance to choose their spots, but it's based on their relative strength of the aspect and which individual elements are included there. So, it always begins with the aspects that are closest to the 9. In this case, second aspects of the 9 will be able to choose their location first. Within that group of second aspects, anyone that holds an architect type will be able to choose their land before those that do not. And so effectively, when you choose your NFT, your aspect, you're influencing your draft order for your land positioning. Now, this is only one aspect of the metagame, and so it doesn't necessarily mean that architects are always the best, but if you want to be able to select your location first, an aspect that it contains an architect is one that you would want to go for. So, what this means is, in the first season, anyone that's holding a second aspect of the 9 with an architect would be in the group that drafts their location first. Then anyone with a second aspect of the 9 without an architect. Then anyone with a third aspect of the 9 with an architect, and so on and so forth, until all aspects of the 9 have selected their location within the city. After the first season of Nor ends, my land plot is going to be packed up. What that means is my buildings and my achievements and so on will remain with my lands, but the actual location will disappear. Each season ends with what's called the Eternal Return, in which the entire city of Korra will have its layout changed in preparation of the next season. And so, when Season 2 is announced a few weeks later, the location of all arenas that are going to be participating in that season for different games will be announced. At that point, the second draft for locations of land will be announced as well, and each player will be able to select a new location based on the titles of games that are available for them to be near the stadiums. I'm eligible in the same way that I was for Season 1, with the caveat that based on my success in the first season, I may have a slightly different draft position based on that success for Season 2. So your intent is to build over time to have a stronger positioning so that you can influence future seasons within Nor.